Hey everyone, Zarsla here, and welcome to an RPG Maker MV tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're going to be going over how to make evented, not evented random encounters, but better random encounters using parallel processes and and control switches and etc. 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 So let me just show you how this looks in game. I'm just going to wait a little bit and I'll show you. Okay, that's all the demonstration I'm going to do for today. But as you can see, running around the map, battles just randomly start. They just start out of the middle of nowhere. You didn't touch anything. You can transfer, all that kind of lovely good stuff, and we're going to get into it. But let me just make sure that I make something clear about how maps should be handled. As you can see, there are no troop events right here. Yeah, here's the thing. The way this is going to be set up, don't put troop events in the encounters. Legit, like, just don't do that. And as long as this is completely blank, this will work. Else, excuse me, it may mess up something. Very simply, I'm going to just change this so that this is doing some fun. We have a bunch of variables we need. We are going to be using 6 variables for this basic setup. 3 variables, 4 variables are, as you can see, are being messed with here. And we're going to get to what each of these do. But first, we need to do a script call. It's going to be a dis.wait, open parentheses, put in some number, close parentheses, and a comma. Now, if you saw how it looked on the map in my demonstration, I had it set up to be 300, or about every 5 seconds of real time. Would a random encounter happen. I like to set up actually for defaultness. How I would personally recommend to most people. It's set up for a minute, which is 360 seconds. Remember that for wait frames and for frames in general, you do 60 times the amount of seconds you want, and that's going to give you how many frames you have to wait. And that's how it reads the this.wait. Just very simply this. We're going to have a common event. We're going to have the account setter up. And basically that sets up the variable that's used right here, so this variable right here has to be set to a specific number. In this case, the common event's going to set that up, and we're going to come back to it, but we have a common event and it's going to run and it's going to set it up very nicely for us. Then we're going to have two control variables that do the same thing, variable 5 and 6 in this case, in my game, are set to the player's map X and player's map Y respectively. And from there we're going to go into the we're going to go to get location info, which if it opens up like this, you're going to go to page 3, you're going to go to get location info, and you're going to just set this to be a completely different variable, in this case no encounter ID. For me, set this to be a region ID, make sure it's designated with variables, set this up so that's map X, set this up so that the Y is map Y, so map X is X, map Y is Y. That's why I named them the way I did. And then after that, you're going to have two conditional branches. The first conditional branch is going to be no else clicked, and it's going to be the random encounter ID. This is the variable that's going to give us the ID for the random encounters. In this case, it has to be greater than 0, because bad things happen when it's not, but we're going to check to make sure it's greater than 0. And then the no encounter ID, we're going to make sure that it's not equal to the region ID that we're going to be using to make it so that battle events don't happen. So in my game, on region ID 1, random encounter battles will not happen. Because of this, we're going to make sure it's set to not equal to 1. And that's it. And then in both of these lovely nested conditional branches, we're going to have a battle processing event, which very simply, at 1, go to 3, battle processing, designate with variable, random encounter ID, see it comes back, and then you set up to maybe can escape if you want to always escape, can lose if you want to lose, neither, and it's just if it's neither, it's just a simple battle processing event, but I set up so that you can win and you can escape and you can lose, and that's it for this event. Make sure that the common event's parallel and that it has a switch specifically on for just that common event, and that's this being done. And then for the random encounter, you're going to make your very first variable equal, the very first thing you see is going to be the control variable, in this case random encounter ID is going to be equal to 0, and then we're going to just sit there and have another one more. We're going to call it map ID 9. We're going to go variable 9 and it's going to be map ID, game data, map ID, and once that's all set up and done, then we're going to be just doing very much if else statements. I'm using, as you can see, comments to just tell us, okay, this is for map 1, this is for map 2, this is for map 3, this is for map 4, and it's just going to keep just going through them. And basically what we're going to do is I'm going to have you're going to make an if a conditional branch, and it's just going to be no else statement, just a simple conditional branch, and you're going to sit there and say, well, if map ID is equal to this ID, so in this case map ID 2, map ID 1, etc, etc, etc. I'll show you when we get back to the map how to get the map ID, so keep that in mind. And then we're going to have one more variable, I promise, that's all the variables we need. It's what I call dice roll, and I just have it set to be a random number from 1 to 3. And then after that, I use dice roll, and I set it up so that it's equal to 1 or 3 or 0 or 2 or 4, any kind of number. And I just use it to set it up, to set up how random encounters will be handled. So I'm going to go to map ID 4, and I'll show you how to handle. So from 1 to 100, now 1 to 100 is your percent chance. So there's a 30% chance that you're going to get bats. There's a 25% chance you're going to get slimes. There's a 20% chance you're going to get the orc. There's a 15% chance you're going to get a minotaur, and there's a 10% chance that nothing happens. Nada. And personally, I recommend going with this kind of system where you have a small chance of getting nothing, and then it adds a wrench in the system. So it does follow a pattern. Let's say every minute a new battle ID is picked and it sees to run through it. Well, if you have a chance, sorry if you can hear my toilet, I'm like right next to the bathroom where I'm recording. It's set up so that, you know, if you have that little let's say every 10% chance, that means, let's say if, you know, life is perfect, you run through, let's be nice, let's say you went through 15 battles. On the 5th and 7th time that, you know, this is ran through, instead of you getting a battle, you don't get a battle. So instead of getting 15 battles, this runs through this little random encounter thingy 15 times, right? The 5th time it runs through it, nothing happens, and you just go on your merry way, and you wait another minute, and then a battle happens. Well, then let's say this happens again on the 12th and 13th times. So the 12th time it does it, nothing happens, waits for a minute. 13th time it doesn't happen, waits for a minute, waits for that minute, and then the 14th time, boom, there we go, now you're in another battle. Well, now, instead of it being every single minute you're fighting a battle, there's a chance, a 10% chance, that during that minute, you don't run for a battle. You don't play on a battle. You don't do anything for a battle. So it really adds that random encounterness that you may want, so that that predictable pattern is gone. So that instead of being every minute you have a battle, now it's, you may not have a battle every single minute. You may have it where that happens 5 times in a row and your player got lucky, so now they ran around on their map for 5 minutes. Yay! And really, that's my personal opinion. You don't have to have that random bit of, you know, no time, but having that random bit of no time really makes it feel, in my opinion, really truly random. At least for me, it does. And if you really want to, you can make it complex, make it so that different, that, you know, every battle you go through, and you can make it really, really, really complex, so that, you know, you make it where, like, if you go through enough battles, the random encounter rate just stops or dies off, or there's a lot of things you as the player can do, in my opinion, that could be really fun and really good. However, and this is my, well, not really a however, but more of a, I'm gonna end this video here, kind of thing, is if you want to see more, if you want me to expand more, and you don't necessarily feel like being that person where I want to expand but I don't know how to, or I really don't have a good grasp on how to do this kind of eventing, and you want to ask me, you know, how can I expand on this? If enough people ask, I'll totally sit there and show you how to set it up so that you can have different kind of wait times for different maps, or different types of region IDs, that on certain regions only certain battles can happen. You can set it up so that, you know, this only works on certain maps. You can set it up so that, you know, that wait time varies depending on what kind of map you're on. You can have it vary depending on what kind of difficulty you have. Yes, I actually had this, I was playing around with this, and I was like, oh, this would be really fun for, like, a difficulty, you know, like, you can sit there and set it up so that if the game's set to be, like, really hard, you know, you have a lower wait time. So instead of maybe let's say, every minute for a battle, you set it up so that every 5 minutes on really, really hard, for an encounter time is, you know, how much you wait, and then for very easy, you wait 5 minutes. But then if you're playing, you know, normal, you just have to wait a minute or two. But this can definitely be expanded upon. If you guys want to see that, let me know. You know, comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, the typical YouTuber video watching stuff. And until next tutorial and next time, bye!